are back with our Week 7 predictions. We're doing a little bit better. We both clawed out of... I think we had losing records. At least one of us had a losing record through the first 5 weeks.
We don't need to name who had.
So we're doing...
It's okay.
No,
we can protect the nameless.
We could protect the nameless if you want to. But I think based on the standings down there, down there, we may know who that is. But we are gonna go through every game Week 7. Things are getting a little bit easier to predict because less kind of wild upsets, but we'll still go through every single game, and I'm still gonna win, just like I have for most of the season. Anyways, we're already up to a good start. We both predicted Denver to beat the Saints again. If there's anybody out there who wants receipts, we have them. We do it before the game. We're just
I'm not
that
going to
good
show
at predictions.
I'm not going to show you, but we have them.
We do have them. If you are completely incensed by this, then DM us. Reach out to us. We can provide receipts if need be.
Yeah. There you go.
But we're gonna go to a game. We're gonna go back to London, and we're gonna go with this is this considered a tank bowl at this point? I think this might be.
It's
a
weird
London
that Jacksonville's in the tank
at a certain
bowl.
point.
Yeah, it's weird to see Jacksonville in it, but yeah, no, I guess it kind of is at this point. What are the Patriots' record? They've got to be doing pretty bad too.
Patriots. I believe they have the same record. I believe they only have one win each, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that sounds about right.
Patriots beat the Bengals.
Yep, 1-5. So there you go. Absolutely,
they're both 1-5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really not great. I think this is probably Doug Peterson coaching for his job at this point. Because if you go home, because obviously they lose against the Bears in pretty embarrassing fashion. If you go out and lose to the Patriots in New England, or the Patriots after you've had the extra week in London, that's even more embarrassing. Part of me even thinks like maybe he gets fired either way. But if he loses this game, he's definitely not going to have a job when he gets back to the States. With that being said, I think that extra week in London is going to help a bit. I know we both kind of went off of the London advantage for the Jags last week and both got burned by it. But I'm going to return to the well because I won't learn anything. I'm going to say the Patriots are a lot worse of a team than the Bears. And the Jags have the London advantage of having already been there, already adjusted, more comfortable with it in general. I'm going to say the Jags take this one, and if they don't, they're in big fucking trouble.
Yeah, and you know what's the funny thing? I was with you up until I actually took a second and looked at the Jags stats to just see how bad they've been this year. I know, everybody knows the Jags have sucked this year. That topic's been beaten to death at this point. They're averaging just under 30 points allowed per game and almost 400 yards allowed per game. That is insane. That is terrible. that is worse than bad. That is, oh my gosh. I think I'm just because of that I might have to go with the Pats. That is just brutal.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go with a team that is actively not defending as terribly as that. And I don't know. You say he's coaching for his job at this point, Doug Peterson, but I don't know if he deserves to keep his job. I don't know how much of a factor that actually is. How much does Jacksonville actually want to keep Doug Peterson? Right? Because I think that's got to be a factor too, right? If all the players in the room are thinking we want to keep this guy, then yes, I think that starts to come into effect. But I don't know. I've never gotten the sense from Doug Peterson in that Jacksonville room that he's necessarily the... I don't know. I'm feeling the Patriots this week. And it would be really funny after the whole storyline that we've seen peddled the last few years of Jacksonville being London's team or whatever. It'd be pretty funny to see them go 0-2 and over there.
I that's pretty much the death sentence for this team. If there was ever a must-win game for the Jags this season, I think this is probably the biggest one.
This is their Super Bowl.
This is their Super Bowl. It's as close as they're going to get, seemingly, in the next couple of years. Which is just sad. Speaking of London's team, one last thing. I saw Drake May come out and he was asked, why should people cheer for the Patriots in London? Why why do you want Patriots fans in England? And he says, well, like, look at the name. We have England in the name, guys. So,
it's true.
Honestly, for that, I'm cheering for the Patriots, but I don't think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of teams that I'm cheering for, but I don't think they're going to get it done.
Yeah.
What the fuck happened to my team? What has happened to the game that I love? I was riding high through 3 weeks, and then I've just seen everything that I love torn to shreds, burned to ashes. It's just been the most dreadful 3-week stretch of my life. First, we go out and we get embarrassed by the Lions in prime time. Then I go to a game and have to watch the horrors of being killed by the Giants in person, and then another primetime loss to the Niners of all fucking teams. And I can't do it anymore. This team has looked genuinely terrible through the last 3 games, particularly on defense. They couldn't stop a nosebleed, which is just so strange considering that the first 3 weeks they looked like a juggernaut, and it looked like Mike Macdonald's scheme was actually working out and changing this defense for the better. Now it just looks like it's all the same old issues from those Pete Carroll teams, where I'm starting to think maybe it is a lack of talent. Lots of injuries. Our entire secondary is out. Tariq Woolen is out. We had to put Rayshon Jenkins on IR. Byron Murphy's coming back, which is great, but still a lot of holes in that defense. I don't even think Atlanta is that good of a team. Like, other than the Giants, they're the easiest opponent we've played in the last few games. But in Atlanta, I think I even predicted this one as a loss before the Seahawks season started. And I'm going to do it here. This is the first time I've picked against the Seahawks all year. That may be because I'm kind of doing a reverse psychology here, and I'm thinking that as soon as I pick against them, they're going to start winning. But I don't know. It's tough to believe in this team after the last 3 weeks. They really haven't shown me anything. And honestly, I don't even necessarily... I think this is a must-win for their playoff hopes. Like, I think if they lose this one, then having to go into Buffalo next week, they might be screwed for the season.
That'd be...
Yeah, that would be 4 in a row.
That is a death sentence, pretty much. Like...
Yeah. I don't know how you're going to come back from that, especially with a kind of murderer's row still to come. Like, you still have to play the Packers, you still have to play the Vikings, you still have to play the Niners again, still have to play the Rams twice, which, as bad as they've been, we've always had problems with them. Yeah, it's really concerning, and even if we don't win, I'm just looking to see something. I'm looking to see some sort of improvement on defense, some sort of sign that I don't have to watch these Seahawks games, like, with my hand over my eyes. That's all I need at this point.
You want to hear something that might make you feel a little bit better? The odds that I'm seeing are exactly even, -115 for both. So everybody else on the planet who hasn't had to watch the Seahawks for the last little bit seems to think that Seattle still has a chance, which is interesting. I am gonna agree with you. I am gonna take Atlanta. It's odd because I know. Oh, that's your face. It's odd because in the past, I've used the logic of, they need a win here. They need it more than Atlanta. They're going to pull out a win here. I'm not feeling that from Seattle. Like, it's funny because they were kind of the team at the beginning of the year when they went on that run where it's funny. It's kind of like they don't need it. Like, it's the start of a new era, right? If they kind of suck this year, I don't know how many people would have been... It's not the end of the world. Nobody at the beginning of the year thought Seattle was going to the Super Bowl, and that was it, right? You did? Yeah, okay. Well, I more mean like before the season. I more mean before the season. But this was not their peak. I don't think they need a win here necessarily. I think if they lose this one and they throw the season away, I mean, it sucks, but it's just the start of the new era. It was going to take a little while for McDonald's scheme to start working and all the players to actually and the team's still young, so I mean it's a death sentence maybe for this year, but this is not their last shot with the team they currently have.
But you have to start seeing progress at some point. Like, it has to start working at some point, because we're almost at halfway through the season, and it's really just progress, not.
You did at the very beginning.
Well, but then...
Yeah, like, that's the thing. They took a step back.
It regressed.
They took a step back, but you saw the potential of it, right? Like, I think it's more that. Like, that gives me a little bit
of it against particularly inept offenses, is the other
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
Like, I mean,
Okay,
that's
that's
the other
fair.
big criticism of it. Tua-less Miami, Jacoby Brissett Patriots, and first game Bo Nix. Like, it's hard. They looked great in those games. Like, I'm not gonna lie, though the defense looked even better than the score indicated. Especially with, you know, like the couple safeties in the Broncos game or the turnovers in other games. Um, but yeah, no, it's just been completely the opposite. Um, it's yeah, it's hard to believe in them right now.
Yeah.
And I'll still be there every single game. I'll still watch them every single game, but it's not looking good.
I might be fishing, so I might not do that. But you know what? Full respect to you. Uh, Tennessee Titans, Buffalo Bills. This one is another one where there's kind of an obvious choice here. I mean, you said right off the top that as we go through here, it's starting to become a lot easier to pick who's going to win some of these games. To me, this is one of those. I mean, the Titans suck, and the Bills are worse. I'm going to take the Titans. Will Levis, I still believe in you, baby girl.
Oh my god.
You've got it. I have full belief. It'll work. One of these days. I think it did work once. I think it. Yeah, they're 1-4, so it must have worked
They
once.
have one. They have one win.
They do have one win, so it must have worked at some point. Anyway, I'm choosing the Tennessee Titans to upset the Bills in what should be an upset at all because they're just better. Purely talent-wise, all over the board. When it comes to putting mayo in their coffee, they could absolutely dominate the Bills, and therefore it applies to the football field.
Again, Simon would be in the lead in the standings if he didn't have his giant man crush on Will Levis.
Yeah, exactly. That's that. You know what? I don't need it. I believe.
I almost forgot about it at a certain point. I started writing down Buffalo. And
Yeah.
then as I wrote that down, I was like, oh, right, forgot about that. Yeah, this is I don't have a giant man crush on Will Levis. Although it seems like you got a great thing going on. Maybe I should wish I do. But no, I'm taking the Bills at home. Like this is a pretty big no-brainer. The Titans are a total mess of an operation at this point. And Will Levis is kind of at the center of that. Buffalo hasn't looked perfect, but they're good enough to beat Tennessee at home.
Did we end up getting like a Will Levis meme photo out of this last week? I don't even remember.
Not necessarily a photo, but he did go into the sidelines and completely shatter the leg of the ball boy. And I don't even know. I think he was kind of oblivious to what happened. I'd have to rewatch the video, but I think he just kind of strode off like nothing happened as the ball boy is just like writhing on the floor in agony. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah,
it did not
hopefully
look
he's okay.
good.
No. Will Levis, I fully respect his like meme ability. That is a talent right there. You might not be a good quarterback, but holy crap, do you make some of the greatest photos on the internet. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll miss him when he gets benched in like week 9.
And never returns and ends up playing for like the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 3 years. It's gonna be great. Anyway, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns. I'll let you return to going first. I kind of
okay.
You didn't even give your pick. I mean, you kind of did.
I did.
It was
Buffalo.
kind of obvious.
Buffalo.
Yeah, it was kind of obvious, but
yeah. If you can somehow glean that I'm picking Tennessee out of that, yeah, I don't know where your head's at.
Yeah.
Bengals Browns. Now, when you look at this game and you look at my history of predictions, you have a man crush on Will Levis. I may or may not have a man crush on the concept of the Cincinnati Bengals as a football team, because they've kind of been shit to start the year. Obviously, 2-4, I believe, is their record at this current point. But I still pick them. I don't think I've picked against them a single week. I picked them to beat the Chiefs. I picked them to beat the Ravens. Like, I've picked them every single week, and they've let me down a lot. But I've stuck with them. In my head, the Bengals are 6-0. And honestly, like, it hasn't looked great at points, but they've also flashed, like, what this team could be. Like that game against the Ravens, I'd say a lot of people would have the Ravens as one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Bengals were neck and neck with them in that game, and that offense was incredible. Just had a complete letdown at the end in overtime. But on it. And if you look at the flip side, the Browns, I mean, I think we both obviously had our hate on for the Browns for obvious reasons. Kevin Stefanski is still parading Deshaun Watson out there for some reason, despite how horrid he's playing. So it all lines up for me to be a clear Bengals pick. And I'll still go with it. I'm still going with the Bengals. But one of the more interesting things is that against all reason, the Browns have completely had the Bengals number historically over the past few years. The Bengals have not been able to beat the Browns, no matter how good the Bengals are or no matter how bad the Browns are. So that's something to keep into consideration, to where I will put this one on upset watch. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Is it an upset? One of them is 2-4 and the other is 1-5.
The Bengals are not your normal 2-4 team. The Bengals are not your normal 2-4 team. I would consider it a pretty big upset, especially since I think the Browns are one of the worst teams in the league at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would put it on upset watch. I would put it on upset watch. The Browns have a chance, maybe more than people think, but I'll still go Bengals because I love Joey B.
Okay. I'm also going to go with Bengals, mainly because I think they're a lot better. And you kind of said it for me. Deshaun Watson at this point, who fucking knows what he's doing on a football field anymore? He's been terrible. They've been barely able to score 16 points a game. And they've been just one of the worst teams in football. I'll join you this week. Usually, I don't think I've picked the Bengals in many games. It's funny. I was kind of thinking about it earlier. I think that I don't know if I have actually picked them to win a game. Just because of how hard you've been going the other direction. But I'll side with you on this one. I'll take the Bengals. The Browns suck. That's what unites us on the Bengals winning a game. It took Deshaun Watson.
It takes Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. That's the beat in the middle on that one. But Houston Texans, Green Bay Packers. This one's a bit more interesting.
This is a good one. This is a very good one.
This is a good one. Should be
We've
interesting.
We got D'Amico Ryans coming out and saying that Jordan Love is the best quarterback they've faced so far in the season. Fuck you, Josh Allen, I guess. But I mean, it's not that. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I think it's not that far of a comparison. Jordan Love's come back, and he's obviously kind of getting his feet more under him, looking more and more comfortable as he is able to return. Pretty convincing win over the Cardinals. And I mean, it is the Cardinals, but the Cardinals have kept it close with a couple of teams and had some interesting wins throughout their season. So it wasn't like a complete, like one of those complete, tank bowl team versus Super Bowl contender games. But going in, it's CJ Stroud going into Lambeau. Probably for the first time in his career. I don't have the stat to back that up, but I would assume. Super interesting matchup, one that's super close. Yeah,
this one's a bit of a toss-up for me, too.
This is a tough one to pick. I think I'm going to give this one to the Packers just because of that home field advantage. I think talent-wise, things are pretty much even, but just in terms of Lambeau Field of all places, especially as it gets colder into late October, November, it's a pretty hostile environment. I think CJ Stroud will still play great, but I wouldn't be shocked if this Houston team that's kind of struggled to have a running game since the first week, if they can't get that kind of back up in order, I feel like they might struggle. Houston offense hasn't necessarily looked to the absolute killer machine that we thought it would be. So I'll take the Packers just mostly because of the home field advantage. This one is a true coin flip game. Should be super exciting to see.
Yeah. I'm stuck on this one as well. I think it is absolutely a coin flip. I think that comment about saying that Jordan Love's better than Josh Allen, that's pretty much what he said. It might not have been the exact words, but it is pretty much what he said. Calling Jordan Love the best quarterback he's faced is interesting because I remember seeing the stat earlier this week of the fact that Josh Allen has yet to throw a pick this year. Just if you remember how his career started in Buffalo is insanely impressive for him. Jordan Love has 6. Yes. I was looking at stats like that make me kind of go, I don't know, man. I'm big on Jordan Love. I think he's a terrific quarterback. But regardless, after thinking about it a little bit, I think I am gonna side with you. I'm gonna go, or yeah, I will go with the Packers. I like what they've been doing on offense. I think that I don't know. I do think home field advantage is going to play into it a little bit, but I don't know. More than anything, it's a coin flip. I'm just going to go with the team that's playing at home. That's my logic more than anything else. I can sit here and try and act like there's something else behind it, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
Anyway,
moving on to a significantly less interesting game, the Tua-less Dolphins. I think both the Tua injury is the reason. Like, the Tua injury has illuminated kind of the reason that you pay Tua, but also the reason you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously fear giving him that money because of the injuries, and it's like at this point, like we pray it never happens again. But that's obviously, it's still a worry with him. There's every time he goes out on the field, there's the potential that he might not ever play again, based on his history with head injuries. It's also kind of the reason you pay him, because this team has been absolutely dreadful without him. The Colts are not necessarily as good of a team as we've kind of thought. Anthony Richardson is back. Jonathan Taylor is not. But I don't necessarily think that it will matter. Tyler Huntley as the quarterback doesn't inspire a lot of faith in me in this Dolphins offense. And while the Colts have been extremely underwhelming at points, I think that they still have, honestly, as even though Anthony Richardson has kind of been risky this year and has made some terrible decisions, he still has significantly more talent on that side of the ball than Tyler Huntley will. He'll be able to make a couple special plays. That'll give them the edge, because I just don't see Miami, even though they have a lot of other talent on offense, being able to do that. So I'll take the Colts in this one.
We already kind of labeled one game a shit bowl, but I might be changing my answer. I think this might be the shit bowl a little bit, and I know that's being very
really more than New England.
I'm going to tell you my reason. I'm going to tell you my reason. I think it's absolutely hilarious when you look at the two starting quarterbacks here. Tyler Huntley, no touchdowns on the season, 1 pick, and then on the other side of things, Anthony Richardson, and he's been hurt. You can defend him with the fact that he's been hurt. 3 touchdowns, 6 picks. That is a brutal start to the year for Anthony Richardson, in a year that a lot of people had very high expectations for him. I know that I'm pretty sure you had the Colts going pretty far. I had them doing half decent. Yep. Like, I don't know if I had them as a playoff team, but I definitely had them as a contender. I think it's just been a massive step back from what the expectations were from them. You took the Colts on that one, right? I was kind of digging for my stats a little bit. I'm gonna absolutely side with you on it. I think that they just have way more talent than Miami at this point, and the fact that Tyler Huntley is the starting quarterback over there does not give them many favors. That's not terrific. At least the Colts have 2 guys who can play quarterback, and Miami cannot say that. So I will give it to the Colts. I do think it's interesting that you got to wonder if Anthony Richardson has a bad game here, you got to wonder if Joe Flacco might just be handed the job at this point, or if the potential is still there for the Colts. You don't think so? I think that
because of that. As the Colts, you're not necessarily trying to win games at this point. Like, I mean, obviously you are, but like that's not necessarily the biggest goal. The biggest goal is to develop Anthony Richardson to the point where he can become your franchise quarterback.
Right.
Because he hasn't played for an elongated stretch of time, other than like his first year in college, other than his last year in college before going to the NFL, because he was extremely raw going in to the league. That was the big knock against him, is just a lack of film on him, a lack of experience. And again, there's flashes, there's lots of bad plays, but the goal is to just get him to play a full season and iron that stuff out. You didn't get that chance last year, out for the year. So now you're just hoping get him as much experience as possible to the point where he is able to improve and eliminate those bad plays. Because yes, the 3 touchdowns, 6 picks is awful, but I mean, you mentioned Josh Allen earlier and how much he's improved.
That's
you kind of got to hope that you'll see a similar thing from Anthony Richardson.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that I think if the Colts do want to win this year, or even have a chance at it, they should be playing Joe Flacco without a shadow of the doubt. The better quarterback on that team as of
Yeah.
today is their backup, and I think I you just got to wonder. I'm more bringing up the fact that I'm curious if that's a conversation in the room or not. But if what you're saying is true, and the main goal here is just to get him experience, then absolutely they should keep starting him. But it's just a question of how good the Colts think they are right now is kind of what I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
going
And
into the year
I
with how high the expectations were, you would think that now having Joe Flacco, who when he's been playing, he has been really good for them. You got to just wonder if they're thinking to themselves, maybe we can put something together with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Give Richardson another year,
yeah.
a year on the bench here.
I don't think they're thinking that. I do agree with you. I think Joe Flacco is a better quarterback right now. I think the teams that are coming in to face the Colts probably are hoping for Anthony Richardson just because of the
Oh yeah,
opportunities that he will gift them. That's kind of inevitable at this point. Um, but I don't think it's a conversation in the room because of what I mentioned before, and it's also just not the same as like a Deshaun Watson situation where he's just like playing so terrible that it's
yeah,
just obvious that the better quarterback is sitting on the bench no matter who it is. Anthony Richardson still gives you a pretty solid chance to win, because he still has that talent and he will still be able to win you games. Um, Joe Flacco is more consistent. He will make less mistakes. You would probably get a couple more wins than you would with Anthony Richardson, but that's not the point. Of this Colts season. They will still try and be able to win games with Anthony Richardson. It's just, again, about development and about the long term future of this team more than the short term right now.
yep. No, and I don't disagree with you either. I just think that it really depends on what their focus is, I guess, is the main point, right? But we can move on. Detroit Lions, Minnesota
Yep.
Vikings, rivalry game, division game here between two teams that are playing really well right now. Vikings still undefeated at 5-0. Still have Sam Darnold playing his socks off right now, which is awesome. That's been really, really cool to see. Detroit has looked fairly unbeatable, though. They've looked really, really tough. Obviously, they do have a loss, so they're not
So,
unbeatable, but they've looked unbeatable.
and I mean, yeah, like, especially with their most recent performances, um, particularly the most recent against the Cowboys, like,
Yeah,
that game I think was really interesting just because you can kind of tell that they're taking out a bit of anger for out of the last time they played the Cowboys with the whole ineligible ineligible receiver reporting as eligible, that whole drama. So they go out and then they
beat the
they have
piss
their
out of
whole
them.
like, yeah, they do all their trick plays, their flea flickers. They try to get Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman, a touchdown when they're up like by 40 points. The Lions are great. Um, I will always be cheering for the Lions unless they're playing the Seahawks. Um, and so they've looked really formidable. They lost to a good Bucks team, which isn't like the biggest cause for alarm or anything. And the Vikings obviously have been perfect this year. This is a very good game. I think it's very even. It's awesome that we'll get to see this twice.
Yeah,
Is another thing that's great about it. I think it's tough because Minnesota. I'm leaning to giving the edge to Detroit, but there's a couple things that make me wary. Number one, the bye week for Minnesota. That's a big thing that kind of worries me in terms of Minnesota has a little bit more rest. The other big thing that worries about me is Detroit's pass rush. Obviously, terrible injury for Aiden Hutchinson, out for the year. No matter what Dan Campbell says, there's no way he's coming back based on how that injury looked.
yeah,
So that's obviously a huge question mark. And then the other thing is how will a guy like Jared Goff respond to the blitzes of Brian Flores? It's flummoxed better quarterbacks than him, and so it'll be interesting to see. However, I do think this is the game where Detroit gets it done, and
okay,
this is the game where Minnesota falls from the ranks of the undefeated. I think that overall Detroit is just a more experienced team. I think they do have more talent. I think it'll be I think it'll be close. I think they will struggle a lot more than they have in some of their recent games. But I just think the extra experience, the extra talent, And I think we kind of have started to see cracks in the Minnesota foundation, especially their last game against the Jets, or Sam Darnold necessarily wasn't looking as good as he has the last couple weeks. I think a Detroit team will be able to take advantage of those mistakes, maybe more so than the Jets were able to. Definitely a close one, definitely another coin flip, but I'll give this one to Detroit right now.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's really tough for me. I honestly, I wasn't thinking of the Aiden Hutchinson injury, but I think that is a really, really big point there.